The courier refused to leave until Commander Ava Mercer signed for the envelope. "Personal delivery only," he said, handing over a thick cream-colored package. "Someone paid extra to make sure it reached you." Ava thanked him, locked the front door of her townhouse, and placed the envelope on the dining table. She noticed one strange detail immediately: the handwriting on the front wasn't her husband's. It wasn't anyone she recognized. Her military career had trained her to notice patterns, and this package broke every one of them. No return address. No company logo. No legal office listed anywhere, just her full name, Commander Ava Mercer. Confidential. She opened it carefully. Inside were 23 pages. The first page made her heart stop. Petition for dissolution of Marriage. She blinked. No, this had to be a mistake. She and her husband, Daniel Mercer, had celebrated their 9th wedding anniversary only 3 weeks earlier. They weren't perfect, but they had survived years of long deployments, missed holidays, and difficult assignments together. Divorce had never even been mentioned. Then she reached the signature page. Daniel's name was already signed. Ava stared at the ink. It looked authentic. Every curve, every stroke. It was exactly how Daniel signed official documents, except, something felt wrong, not emotionally, professionally. She had reviewed thousands of signatures throughout her career. This one was almost perfect, almost. The final letter slanted 2 degrees differently than it always had. Most people would never notice. She did. Someone had copied her husband's signature, and they had done an excellent job. That evening Daniel came home carrying groceries. He smiled the moment he saw her. "Pizza tonight?" She didn't answer. Instead, she slid the divorce papers across the kitchen island. His smile disappeared. "What is this?" "You tell me." He picked up the packet, his face drained of color as he flipped through the pages. "I've never seen these before." "You didn't sign them?" "No." "You swear?" "I swear." Ava watched him carefully. No nervous movements. No avoiding eye contact. No hesitation. Daniel looked genuinely shocked. Then he stopped on the final page. His breathing changed. Someone had copied his signature so accurately that even he needed several seconds to realize it wasn't his own. Finally he whispered, "This isn't my signature." "I know." "You knew?" "I knew before you walked through the door." For several long moments neither of them spoke. Daniel finally looked up. "If I didn't send these, then someone wants us to believe you did," Ava finished. The following morning Ava visited the law office listed on the paperwork. The receptionist frowned after checking the system. "I'm sorry, Commander. We've never represented anyone named Daniel Mercer." "What about these documents?" The receptionist studied them. Her expression slowly shifted from confusion to concern. "Our firm's logo is outdated." "What?" "We changed it 2 years ago." Ava felt a chill. "So these papers are fake?" "I'm afraid so." The receptionist lowered her voice. "And whoever made them knew enough about legal documents to fool almost anyone." On her way back to the parking garage, Ava noticed a silver sedan parked across the street. The driver wore sunglasses despite the cloudy weather. The engine was running. As soon as Ava looked directly at the car, it pulled away, not fast, not slow, just enough to disappear into traffic. Military training taught her something important. People following you rarely acted dramatically. Professionals blended in. She memorized the first 4 characters of the license plate before the vehicle vanished. That night Daniel admitted something he had never told her. 3 weeks earlier, someone had called his office asking strange questions only close family members should have known: what bank they used, whether Ava preferred email or paper records, whether they owned property jointly. He had assumed it was a scam and ignored it. Now, it suddenly mattered. 2 days later another package arrived. This time there was no envelope, just a small gift box. Inside rested a silver key and nothing else, except a folded note. "You trusted the wrong marriage." Daniel looked confused. "What does that mean?" "I don't know." Ava turned the key over. A tiny engraving caught the light. Box 417. No bank name. No address, just 3 numbers. Ava spent the afternoon calling every private storage facility and safety deposit service within 50 miles. Nothing. No box 417. No matching key. Hours later, frustrated, she almost gave up. Then an elderly employee at a forgotten records office asked one simple question. "Are you sure it's a bank key?" Ava looked down again. She wasn't. That evening she searched the key more carefully under a magnifying lamp. Hidden beside the engraving was a nearly invisible symbol. A tiny compass, not a bank logo. A map marker. She recognized it instantly. It belonged to Briarpoint Railway Station, a place abandoned almost 15 years earlier after the new transit line opened. The station had hundreds of forgotten storage lockers. The next morning Ava drove there alone. Dust covered everything. A broken ticket machine stood frozen in time. The hallway of storage lockers stretched into darkness. Locker 417 still existed. The silver key fit perfectly. Inside was a sealed manila envelope. No money. No jewelry. Just photographs, dozens of them, pictures of Ava walking her dog, leaving work, shopping for groceries. Standing in her own backyard, some were taken years apart, someone had been watching her for a very long time. At the bottom of the locker lay one final photograph. It wasn't recent. It was taken 10 years earlier, on the day of her wedding. The camera had captured Ava and Daniel smiling at each other, but in the background, standing among the guests, was a woman neither of them recognized. She wasn't looking at the ceremony, she was looking directly into the camera. On the back of the photograph, written in black ink, were 7 chilling words: "She didn't come to ruin your marriage, she came to replace your life." Just then, Ava heard footsteps echo through the abandoned station, slow, steady, getting closer. She wasn't alone, the footsteps stopped outside locker 417. Ava quietly slid the envelope of photographs back into the locker and stepped behind a concrete support column. Years of military training had taught her that panic created noise, but patience created opportunities. A shadow stretched across the dusty floor, then an elderly maintenance worker appeared, pushing a squeaky cart loaded with cleaning supplies. He glanced at Ava and smiled apologetically. "Didn't mean to scare you. We only open this place once a month for inspections." Ava let out a slow breath. No harm done. As he continued down the corridor, she looked back at the locker. Someone had placed those photographs there deliberately. And judging by the layer of dust on the shelves, they hadn't been sitting there for years. Someone had visited recently. Back home, Ava spread every photograph across her dining table. Daniel joined her with 2 cups of coffee and neither of them spoke for several minutes. Then Daniel pointed at one picture. "Look at the trees. What about them?" "This photo was taken last winter." Ava nodded. "So? Our backyard oak was cut down almost 3 years ago." She looked closer. He was right, the tree standing behind her no longer existed, which meant the image had been altered. She quickly checked another photograph. Then another. Tiny inconsistencies appeared everywhere. A mailbox with the wrong house number. A neighbor's fence painted the wrong color. A wedding guest wearing a tie that wasn't in any of the original wedding photos. Someone had digitally manipulated the images, not to make them obvious. To make them believable. Someone wanted her to trust the evidence just enough to ask the wrong questions. The only photograph that seemed untouched was the wedding picture. Ava retrieved the original wedding album from a closet shelf, page by page. She searched until she found the same moment. She froze. The mysterious woman wasn't there. The background contained only flowers and smiling guests. The stranger had been added later. Daniel looked over her shoulder. "So she never attended our wedding?" "No." Ava closed the album carefully. "Which means someone wanted us to believe she did." The next morning, Ava contacted her longtime friend, Lena Carter, a forensic imaging specialist who now worked in the private sector. Lena examined the photographs under professional equipment. After nearly an hour, she leaned back in her chair. "I've got good news and bad news. Start with the bad. The edits are incredibly sophisticated. Whoever made them knew exactly what they were doing. And the good? They made one mistake." Lena enlarged the wedding photograph until individual pixels filled the screen. "The shadow." Ava frowned. "The fake woman's shadow falls to the left. So? Everyone else's shadows fall to the right." Silence filled the room. The editor copied her from another photograph. Lena nodded. "And I found something else." She opened a metadata report. "The printer that produced these photographs has a hidden identification code. Can it be traced?" "Sometimes." "Can this one?" Lena smiled. "I already did." The printer belonged to a small print shop across town. Ava and Daniel arrived just before closing. The owner, a middle-aged man named Victor Hale, listened carefully before examining one of the photographs. His expression immediately changed. "I remember this order." Ava's pulse quickened. "You do?" "It wasn't a normal customer." "What do you mean?" "They never came inside." Victor pointed toward the parking lot. "They emailed the files and paid cash through a courier." "Did you ever see them?" "No." "But," he hesitated. "The courier forgot something." Victor disappeared into the back office and returned carrying a small business card. It fell out of the envelope. The card was blank except for a single embossed symbol. A silver compass, the same symbol engraved on the storage locker key. That evening, Ava searched public records for businesses using the compass emblem. Nothing.no, registered company.no, organization.no, charity.no, club. It was as if the symbol didn't exist. Then Daniel remembered something. "I've seen it before." "Where?" He frowned, trying to remember. "At your father's funeral." Ava looked up sharply. "My father's funeral?" "There was a woman standing by herself after the service. I assumed she was one of your relatives. She wore a silver pin shaped like a compass." Ava's mind raced. She remembered dozens of faces from that day, but not one wearing a compass. Unable to shake the feeling that someone was manipulating their memories, Ava visited the small funeral home that had handled her father's service. The director had retired, but the assistant manager still worked there. After hearing her request, he retrieved archived security footage from the day of the funeral. the video quality was poor. Guests entered. Guests left. Ava fast-forwarded through nearly 2 hours, then she saw a woman in a gray coat standing near the entrance, silver compass pin, exactly as Daniel described, but something else caught Ava's attention. The woman wasn't watching the ceremony, she was watching Ava, almost as if she had come for only one reason. To study her. The assistant manager enlarged the image. The woman's face remained frustratingly blurred. But one detail was perfectly clear: she was holding a folder. Across the front, in bold black letters, was printed, Mercer File. That night, Ava and Daniel sat in silence. Finally Daniel spoke. "This isn't about our marriage anymore." Ava nodded. "It never was." Someone had forged divorce papers, created fake photographs, tracked her movements, appeared at her wedding, appeared at her father's funeral, and somehow possessed a file bearing her married name years before any of this began. The question was no longer who. It was why. Just then, Ava's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered. No one spoke, then a calm female voice whispered only one sentence. "You've been investigating the wrong family." The call disconnected. Ava immediately traced the number. It belonged to Daniel's late mother. A woman who had officially died 11 years earlier. Ava stared at the screen long after the call ended. Daniel leaned over her shoulder. "What is it?" She turned the phone toward him. "The number was registered to your mother's old mobile account." Daniel frowned. "That can't be possible." His mother, Evelyn Mercer, had passed away 11 years earlier after a long illness. Her number had been disconnected shortly afterward, or so the family believed. Ava took a slow breath. "Numbers can be reassigned." Daniel nodded, but something about his expression suggested he wasn't convinced. "Still," he said quietly, "there's one person who would know." The next morning they drove to Daniel's hometown and visited his aunt, Claire Mercer. Claire welcomed them warmly, but the moment Ava mentioned Evelyn's name, the older woman's smile faded. "I hoped this day would never come." Ava exchanged a glance with Daniel. "You know something?" Claire walked to a bookshelf, pulled out an old photo album, and placed it on the coffee table. "This family has kept a secret for far too long." Inside were photographs of Evelyn taken over many years: birthday parties, family vacations, graduation ceremonies. Then Ava noticed one picture that didn't fit. Evelyn was shaking hands with a woman wearing a silver compass pin, the same symbol, the same woman. The face was partially hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Claire sighed. Her name was Naomi Pierce. "Who was she?" Ava asked. Claire hesitated. "She worked as a licensed estate investigator." Daniel looked confused. "Why would Mom know an estate investigator?" "Because your grandfather hired her." Years earlier, Daniel's grandfather had built a successful manufacturing business. When he passed away, disputes over ownership threatened to divide the family. Rather than distribute the inheritance immediately, he instructed Naomi Pierce to verify every legal claim before any assets were released. Naomi became known for uncovering forged wills, fake identities, and fraudulent marriages designed to steal inheritances. But the investigation ended, Daniel said. Claire shook her head. "No. It was interrupted." "Why?" "Because Naomi disappeared." Ava listened carefully. Everything was beginning to align: the forged divorce papers, the fake photographs, the anonymous packages. Someone wasn't trying to destroy her marriage, someone was trying to manipulate an old inheritance investigation that had never officially been completed. But why now? Claire stood and walked to a small filing cabinet. "I've kept this because Evelyn asked me to." She removed a sealed envelope labeled, "For Daniel and Ava. If the truth ever finds you." Daniel looked stunned. "My mother left this?" Claire nodded. "She told me never to open it." Inside was a handwritten letter. It read, "If you're reading this, someone has restarted the investigation Naomi Pierce began years ago. You will be tempted to suspect each other. Don't. The danger was never inside our family. It came from someone who built a career pretending to belong to other families." A second page contained one name: Adrian Cole. Claire recognized it immediately. He worked with Naomi. What happened to him? He resigned after she vanished. Ava searched public business records from her laptop. Adrian Cole now owned a company specializing in genealogy research and estate recovery. A respectable profession on paper, but another record caught her attention. His company had quietly dissolved just 6 months earlier, the same month the fake divorce papers had been created. Ava contacted the state's licensing office. Within hours, investigators confirmed something unexpected: Adrian Cole had been under review for submitting altered family records in multiple inheritance disputes. There wasn't enough evidence to prosecute him at the time, but the complaints followed the same pattern. Forged documents, fabricated relationships, manufactured evidence, always designed to make innocent relatives turn against one another. Exactly what had happened to Ava and Daniel. The final piece came from an unexpected source. Victor, the print shop owner, called Ava. "I remembered something." The courier who picked up the photograph signed for the package. Do you still have the receipt? I do. He emailed a scanned copy. The signature wasn't Adrian Cole's. It belonged to Naomi Pierce. Ava frowned. Impossible. Naomi had disappeared years earlier. Then she looked closer. The handwriting matched the forged signature style used on the fake divorce papers. It wasn't Naomi's signature. It was another imitation. Someone had been using Naomi's identity long after she vanished. State investigators reopened Naomi Pierce's missing person case. Within days, they uncovered a storage unit rented under one of Adrian Cole's aliases. Inside were thousands of pages of forged documents, counterfeit identity records, altered photographs, and templates for legal paperwork. Among them was a folder labeled Mercer Family. It contained drafts of the fake divorce petition, digitally edited wedding photographs, and detailed notes about Ava's daily routine. The goal was surprisingly simple. If Ava and Daniel divorced, ownership of a dormant family trust would become legally contested. That confusion would have allowed Adrian to submit fraudulent heirs and redirect the assets before anyone noticed. The marriage had never been the target. It had been the obstacle. Several months later, the investigation officially closed. The Mercer Family Trust was transferred to its rightful beneficiaries. A portion of the recovered funds was donated to a non-profit organization that provided legal assistance to families facing inheritance fraud. Daniel squeezed Ava's hand during the dedication ceremony. We almost let someone else's lies become our truth. Ava smiled. They underestimated one thing. Our trust. She shook her head. Our willingness to verify the facts before believing the story. Daniel laughed softly. A portion of the recovered funds was donated to a non-profit organization that provided legal assistance to families facing inheritance fraud. Daniel squeezed Ava's hand during the dedication ceremony. We almost let someone else's lies become our truth. Ava smiled. They underestimated one thing. Our trust. She shook her head. Our willingness to verify the facts before believing the story. Daniel laughed softly. That's the officer in you. No, Ava replied. That's the partner in me. Life slowly returned to normal. The anonymous packages stopped, the phone calls ended, the fear that had shadowed their home finally disappeared. One evening, while organizing old family keepsakes, Ava framed the original wedding photograph, the untouched one. No mysterious stranger. No fabricated evidence, just two people making a promise. She hung it in their hallway as a quiet reminder that truth doesn't always arrive first, sometimes it arrives last. But when it does, it has a way of making every lie collapse under its own weight, and Ava never forgot the lesson that saved both her marriage and her family. Trust is strongest when it's built on truth, not assumptions.